Good morning.
Good morning.
Happy Pride.
Yay!
You love all the decorations. Yeah. So we hope the service brings you joy and also comfort as well. And we're going to begin the service by honoring the indigenous people whose ancestors lived on this land and cared for this land. So we're going to light our rust candle in honor of the land and the example that they set. Thank you. Our service today is founded on principles 1 through 7 and sources 1 through 6, a whole lot. When celebrating the LGBTQIA people among us, it's impossible to limit ourselves to less than all of what matters to us. So we hope you find evidence of all of our principles and sources woven throughout the service. We're grateful for the efforts of many people in assembling our time together today. To Bram and Roxy Castet, our readers, to Dana Sanford, our sound master, to Steve Poyani, our videographer, we extend our thanks. And a special thank you to Steve for tending to our swamp cooler up on the roof so we could be comfortable here today. Yes. All right, thank you, Steve. Our programming team is going to meet at 12:30 in the conference room today. We'll be planning services for the next 6 weeks of summer. Please come if you have any ideas to add to the conversation. And our drum circle will gather this Friday at 6:30 in the social hall. Bring your own drum or other percussive instrument or use one of ours that we have here. No previous experience is necessary. Everybody's welcome. Rio the dog, remember Rio the dog?
Yes.
She is still in need of your recycled newspapers. A collection bin for that is outside the social hall door, weighted with rocks for the obvious reason, and you may drop them off at any time, 24/7. Now next Sunday is our town hall meeting and potluck lunch. Bring your favorite dish with ingredients listed on or a little brief description if possible. Knowing what's in our food helps people to make the best choices for themselves. And if you have items that you would like to discuss for the town hall agenda, please email them either to me or to Reverend Nancy. And how many people here were at the Gay Pride Parade yesterday? Woo! Okay, we had the Stovers provided not only their truck, but the driver, John, thank you. And the Koyanis provided a lot of those decorations, and we were really received well by the people along the parade route. There were a lot more people than I expected. More people than I had remembered at Pride parades in the past. No matter how hot it was, 100 degrees out there, it didn't matter. So we are happy for that. So we invite you to stand now as, if you're able, as we light our chalice. Let's say the words together. No matter the character of our chalice, short or tall, large or small, whether candle or lamp or a jar with a wick, the flame is always the same. We celebrate our diversity and our unity, our oneness in community, with pride as it is lived. Shalom. And please remain standing for our affirmation of our aspirations. Life is a gift. We gather in community to celebrate the glories and the mysteries of this great gift. In the light of truth and in the warmth of love, we gather to seek, to sustain, and to share. Love is the doctrine of this congregation. The quest for truth is our sacrament, and service is our prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge and freedom, to serve others in community, to the end that all souls grow into harmony with creation. Thus do we covenant with one another. Shalom. Now
remain standing as you're able, and look in your purple insert. And you'll find the words to a song that I wrote for welcoming congregations. I wrote it a long time ago. I would have to add a lot more letters in the LGBTQ if I'm writing it now, but we wanted to make sure that everybody feels welcome. So here's the way the chorus goes. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. Let's try that. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. Good. Okay, now this is the way the verse goes. If you're short or if you're tall, if you're big or if you're small, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. Let's try that together. If you're short or if you're tall, if you're big or if you're small, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. The chorus. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. Verse 2. If you're straight or if you're gay, we want you here with us today. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Now sing it if you mean it. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. Whatever color you may be, we welcome your diversity. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. Smile as you sing. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. If you're healthy as can be, or have a disability, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. Whatever nation of your birth, wherever you are from on earth, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. No matter how rich or poor your roots, in simple clothes or fancy suits, you are welcome here. You are welcome here. You are welcome, you are welcome, you are welcome, welcome here. Yes. Please be seated.
Please join me now in a moment for centering. I invite you to sit back in your pew, settling in comfortably. Uncross your ankles, your knees, your wrists. Rest your hands gently in your lap. Close your eyes if you are comfortable doing so, or choose a focal point and let your gaze go soft. Focus your awareness on your breath, sweeping stray thoughts aside for later. Breathing in and breathing out. Breathing in and breathing out. Sense the rightness of your presence here. Feel the belonging that connects you to this community. Breathe in safety. Breathe out fear. Breathe in comfort. Breathe out tension. Breathe in energy. Breathe out apathy. Breathe in joy. Breathe out despair. Let the colors of the rainbow surround you with life. Frame you with love and affirm your inner truth. Continuing to breathe fully and deeply. Revel in the wonder of your life. Breathe in and out. Hold your feelings tenderly. Breathing in and breathing out. As you return your awareness to the here and now. And when you are ready, open your eyes. Shalom.
To name something is an act of power. Naming our joys and concerns connects us to one another in silent witness as the candles are lit for each one. It also equips us to follow up in conversation with each other later. If you have a joy or concern that you'd like to name for us, please raise your hand and I'll bring you the mic and Nancy will light a candle.
Colorado is beautiful, only 81 degrees. This morning on the news, there is breaking news that the Senate has reached an agreement on a gun control bill. It's just the outline, okay, but it does include 9 things. It does not include the biggies like we all want, but I think we should be very happy for at least something. And they think they have about 20 Republican senators that will support it.
Yes.
I have a joy and a concern. We did have to release Batman on Thursday. He woke up and said his heart had done. So he gave a lot of joy. And my joy is that I learned last night that at the International New Age Trade Show, they have it's COVER, it's a group that covers the products of the New Age world. And my deck, Gentle Creatures, took gold, so that's my joy.
I am a 72-year-old Gold Star lesbian. When I was trying to figure it all out, I turned to books, and this is back in the 60s, when things were hush-hush. I found 2 books. One was a DSM, which said that I was a mental illness. And the other was a novel that said, that was entitled The Well of Loneliness. Things weren't looking too bright for me. But you know, I never, ever felt spiritual shame. I knew in my heart that I was good and worthy of love. And I tell you, I felt so much pride yesterday. I've marched in pride parades before, but I don't know, yesterday was different. The crowd was different. Things were different. And I felt so proud. And I just wanted to share that with you guys.
I see Stacy.
I'll share this joy since I'm never sure if I'm going to make it on any given Sunday, depending on the pain levels. In just over a week, I will be heading back to Fargo for my 35th high school reunion. Now I feel old. And getting to see a whole lot of family and friends. And I'm hoping that they're actually not going to get into the 90s like they're telling me that they want to. I told them no. The week after, they can get into the 90s. I'd actually like a break in the 70s and the 80s.
Jay?
My joy is that tomorrow morning I have my appointment for hearing aids.
I am gonna dig up rocks today.
She loves rocks. She's digging at rocks today.
All right.
So I have a couple of joys. One is that Adia got to go to the Pride Parade yesterday, and she had a wonderful time, and she will show you her tattoo without even you asking, I'm sure. And my other joy is that we're going to Wisconsin next week to see friends that are having birthdays, 75 and 80. And so I just want to celebrate everybody who's born in this month and next month. So happy birthday to everybody.
My concern was that I realized on Friday that this 93-year-old body couldn't stand the heat, even in the wagon. So I didn't go to the Pride Parade, and I missed it. I've seen wonderful Pride Parades here in Boston and in Portland. And but my joy was that last night I watched the 25th anniversary production of Les Miserables on Channel 5. I had seen the play many years ago in Boston, but it was so moving. And I just felt so wonderful about it. And I'm sure it'll be played other times, so you might like to see it and hear it too.
Well, Roxy and I will be at the next Pride Parade. I wasn't ready to do that much walking yet. I promised no surgery next year.
Yes. Hold you to that.
Okay. And I do have a concern for one of Jackie's friends. Jackie, our member, is ill, and she would like a candle lit for her. Thank you.
Other hands? Anybody else? Did I miss anybody? We'll light one more white candle for the joys and concerns that we hold silently in our hearts. And we might light the red candle for the victims of racial injustice. And now we're welcoming back. Oh, we have another hand. Yes, Judy?
When you lit the candle for people who were victims of racial injustice, I remembered what else I wanted to say. I think we should light a candle for people who are victims of gun out of control.
Thank you, Judy. And now, our animal ministry moment with Ram
Last week I told you about a wonderful man, a veterinarian that takes care of the homeless and his pets. I have another wonderful veterinarian to tell you about. Some of you might have seen him on TV. His name is Dr. Jeff Young, and he takes in the cases where people will go in with a dog with a broken leg and they don't have the money for $4,000 to $6,000 for a surgery. and he'll call them, he finds out about them, and he says, I'll do it for 2. And this is what this man does. And I wrote him a letter because he used to be an animal control officer. And I was an animal control officer, the first one here in Rio Rancho in 1980. And I had to do some things that have given me PTSD. So I wrote to this man, and he wrote me back. And if anybody would like to read it, just get to me after because it's kind of long. And I just wanted to say on the outside of the envelope, he wrote, never give up. Now this is all about cats. Cats are gods, or so they think. In ancient times, cats were worshipped as gods. They have never forgotten this. I bet Egyptians were all like, yo, nobody in history will ever worship and revere cats like we do. And then came the internet. A dog thinks, hey, those people I live with feed me, love me, provide me with a nice, warm, dry house, pet me, and take good care of me. They must be gods. A cat thinks, hey, those people I live with feed me, love me, provide me with a nice, warm, dry house, pet me, and take good care of me. I must be a god. Dogs believe they are human. Cats believe they are God.
Thank you, Brian. It's so good to have you back. In your purple insert, you will find a litany, and I will read a line, and then if you will read, may we live the spirit of pride. Okay, you got that part? We printed the word so you can really see the rest of it. Okay. With gratitude for the freedom to be our true, authentic selves,
May we live the spirit of pride.
with the courage that comes from challenging fear,
May we live the spirit of pride.
with sorrow for those who could not be here with us today, and in honor of those who died of AIDS or who lost their lives.
May we live the spirit of pride.
With grief for those whose pain was unbearable and who left us too soon.
May we live the spirit of pride.
Looking ahead to the justice still withheld,
May we live the spirit of pride.
with the confidence that a sense of community banishes isolation and loneliness.
May we live the spirit of pride.
With the rainbow flag flying high, a sense of beloved community among us, and the joy that comes from making new connections.
May we live the spirit of pride.
Thank you. Will our ushers now please pass our offering baskets? Each week we receive your gifts of love and commitment. Your generosity enables us to be responsible in the larger community, to pay our bills and the salaries of our employees. It also enables us to grow in a new and exciting way. For all of this, we thank you.
Caring about other women, loving each other, helping each other to be free.
Sit down, please. Down.
And that was me, not my kid sisters.
It's music, I'm letting you do it.
I was waiting for words or something here.
From UUWC.
I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live.
I have a reading for you. It is a poem, and there are names, proper names in the poem. It was not clear that those were actually the names of the author, because that space on my computer screen simply had an online handle of some sort that I couldn't begin to pronounce. I think it was probably part of their email or something like that. You know how you're supposed to have an unbreakable code, doesn't necessarily make sense and all that. So I'm inviting you to listen to this coming out poetry of a trans person who I think chose to remain anonymous on the internet. It is titled Eulogy. Dearly beloved, we gather here tonight to lay to rest my old life. Ashley May Wells is dead and gone. She no longer exists in the living realm. Now give way to the reincarnate rebirth of Sage Embry Wells, born anew in his rightful form, living as the man he always was. Blessed be this new life. May it be a blessing living as the true me. I am who I always was inside, since I was a baby. So now, let us come and rejoice in this new life. To me being truly me, to me being who I really am, to me finally feeling free. So mote it be. I hope this poem speaks to all of us about the freedom to be fully real and really free. Switching gears a bit, I should tell you, I'm looking at the clock and thinking, wow, we have like lots of time to do exciting stuff with. And then I'm thinking, maybe I shouldn't have thrown out the first 3 efforts at this sermon that I put out. Because what I have for us today is really very short, which I'm sure you won't protest over, except that I gotta say, this is one of the most complex subjects. And so trying to figure out, usually I get about 15 to 20 minutes max, how do you take everything that needs to be addressed about human sexuality and GLBTQIA pride and cram it into that kind of time slot? So I did start and start over and start over again, because I kept writing stuff that was really important. I mean, we should know about the science, we should know about the history, we should know about the legislation, we should know all this stuff. But every time I started with one of those things, I got carried away. 5 pages later, I hadn't even reached a hint of my main point. So, my apologies for what may be a little disjointed whatever. But here's the essence of what I want us to think about. Human sexuality is one of the most pervasive aspects of being human. It's part of how we define ourselves and how we relate to each other. Without it, without sexuality, the human race would be extinct. It is necessary for life. Without it, life would be flatter and less meaningful. It is necessary for the quality of our lives. Think about what your life would be like if sexuality had absolutely no part in it. If it just didn't exist. I'm not talking about a person who chooses to be abstinent from sexual behavior. I'm saying we just need sexuality in itself, in our world. We each choose how we are going to relate to it, express it, etc. And abstinence is one way. But if it just didn't exist, well, for openers, I don't know what the advertising industry would do, since most things are sold to us based on sex appeal. But, think about how different your life would be. Because without sexuality, I'm not sure what romance would look like. Seriously. And if there were no romance in your life, how boring would that be? What would motivate us to connect at that most deep, intimate level that we can, pretty much only through sexuality? Not exclusively, but really, sexuality has cornered the market when it comes to interpersonal intimacy. And without all that stuff, our lives would really, truly, I think, border on the robotic. Because to the best of my knowledge, we haven't programmed our robots for sexuality yet, and I am okay with that. Seriously okay with that. But I'm just saying, the difference between being fully human and not is profound and is intricately tied up, no matter who we are, in our perception and experiences of sexuality. And for some crazy reason that I can't even begin to spell out clearly, it is also the source of a lot of division in a lot of human communities and among and between a lot of people. I don't think we really know exactly why that is. We do know that some cultures embrace a range of sexual identity and behavior, while others narrow the parameters of acceptability. Sexual identity and behavior has been used to oppress and invalidate people who live outside those narrow parameters. And we are likely well aware that in the history of our own country, oppression, punishment, and even execution have been used to control what were called unnatural urges in people. I was looking at a timeline of historical events relative to the GLBTQIA community. And if you practice, you can roll that off your tongue. Just don't stop in the middle. Seriously. And to my horror, discovered that, I can't remember the poor fellow's name, but some ranking army officer was hung in the 1800s just because of his sexual orientation and behavior. So our history is really bad. It's pretty dark. And the truth is, there is absolutely nothing unnatural about what we now refer to as LGBTQIA people, orientation, behavior, take your pick. In fact, Mother Nature herself regularly creates these ways of being throughout the natural world. It's not just human beings. Scientists have documented, and these are my favorites, lesbian geese. Seriously. Lesbian geese are monogamous. They partner for life. But every spring, both members of the couple go off and mate and conceive a clutch of eggs. They come back together and build their nest in common, and together they parent and raise their brood of goslings. Seriously. And then we have the gay male giraffes, who form, I know, they're Kathy's favorite animals, one of them. Yes. Well documented, who form strong bonds and exhibit signs of affection usually reserved for mating couples. They wrap and then they entwine their necks and rub up and down in affection. This is an affectionate pair bond that is extremely strong for them. From bugs to birds to reptiles to fish to mammals, there are examples of LGBTQIA behavior and relationships throughout the natural world.
Yes.
Apparently no one ever told Mother Nature that this wasn't okay, which is a good thing, because it is. It totally is completely natural. And since it is an inherent part of nature, it cannot be categorized as biological error either. One of the things that some human beings tried to put forward as science began to unravel some of the genetics and hormones and various things that affect the sexual behavior of humans, instead of seeing it as validating a broad range, there were those who said, but that's an aberration. That's a disorder. That's a disease. I'm sorry, that makes no sense whatsoever. When the exact same patterns are replicated over and over and over, continuously through time and across the spectrum of species, that's not aberrant.
Yes.
That's the dynamic norm. However, human beings, we're really weird in how we decide to interpret things. All of our sexual behavior in regard to LGBTQIA, or as one of my beloved friends used to say, gay, straight, wavy, whatever, it's part of the grand design of life on this planet at multiple levels, more than we can know or count. But despite these truths, prejudice, exclusion, and oppression still exist. Now, if you're lucky enough to be a gay giraffe, there is no prejudice, there is no exclusion. You're as much a member of the herd, the pack, whatever, as the next giraffe. Same way with those geese. When you see a formation of Canadian geese flying overhead, it's not like they've got the lesbian contingent separated out. They're all together. But when you get to humans, we have problems with this. The best response to the fact that there are things in life, especially parts of science that give us explanation and understanding, the best response to not being able to understand it is not to get rid of the thing you don't understand. You know, for centuries, human beings were unable to understand how the variety of sexualities came to be. Certainly for purposes of human reproduction, you needed to have male-female mating and progeny happening. And so to see that as a valuable kind of thing made perfect sense. But to decide that the other kinds of sexual behavior that did not lead to reproduction needed to be somehow squelched, stopped, eliminated, persecuted, prosecuted, take your pick. Where is the logic in that? Just because we cannot understand something does not mean we should be making it go away. It means we should be trying to learn. I am keenly aware, at least, dear God, I hope so, that I am preaching to the choir right now. Because if I'm not, I definitely have a real problem, and so do all of you. So I'm going to go with the idea that, yeah, we as a collective community are pretty much on the same page. So I'm going to remind us just briefly of how we got to be here. That it was June is Pride Month now, and you will see the connection immediately, June of 1969, when the Stonewall riots occurred in New York. There had been previous organizations, publications, and spokespersons for gay people. However, the refusal of some 400 people to be arrested by the police in an unprovoked raid of the gay bar started a whole movement that came to be known as Pride. The first Pride parades were in 1970, and the rainbow flag came in 1978. It was first flown in San Francisco when gay activist Gilbert Baker created it. Now, there's a bit of history to the flag and meaning to the colors that I don't know if we're all aware of, so I'm going to share it with you. Originally, there were 8 colors, and the choices were made based on color therapy, meaning that each color had a specific energy and meaning. So originally, there was pink Pink was for sex. Red was for life. Orange was for healing. Yellow is for sunlight. Green is for nature. There was turquoise in that original flag for magic. Blue for serenity. And purple for spirit. These colors had happy and positive meanings and were meant to represent the vitality of the then LGBTQ community. It was also meant to replace the dark history of the old symbol, a pink triangle that was conceived by Adolf Hitler during World War II and marked people as gay and sent off to concentration camps. Pink and turquoise were eventually cut from the rainbow as pink dye was too expensive for manufacturers to use. It is good to know there is a practical streak for the Pride movement. Turquoise was removed during the 1979 Gay Freedom Day parade because they wanted the flag to have an even number of colors. And there goes your practical whatever right out the window, because I had no idea why having an even number of colors was important, but it was, and so turquoise was retired with the pink. Today, there are indeed many variations of the flag, like the progressive pride flag on the end of the pews and on our window over here, in addition to simple rainbow stripes and all kinds of shapes and different versions thereof. The additional colors on the progressive pride flag on the end of your pew represent trans people and people of color, so that it's very clear that the pride flag flies over all. The term pride itself is defined as, and I really like this definition, I hope you like it as much as I do. Pride is the promotion of the self-affirmation, dignity, equality, and increased visibility of lesbian, gay, bisexual, transgender, etc. people as a social group. So pride is definitely personal, but it's bigger than any single individual. Pride speaks to the presence of a social group among all of the social groups of humanity, and it affirms the legitimacy of that group. The word pride was chosen specifically in opposition, and Teresa, you mentioned this earlier, specifically in opposition to shame and social stigma. And pride is the predominant outlook and theme behind all of the movements, the parades, the organizations, all of that stuff that we associate with that word. So in the intervening years since Stonewall, a lot of pro-pride legislation has occurred. Beginning, and I gotta tell you, I don't give the Midwest enough credit. Seriously, I've never been there, and they're just kind of, my husband, who likes road trips and driving and has driven, he calls them those amber waves of grain states. You know, they're just sort of this unending whatever. However, in 1962, Illinois was the first state to decriminalize homosexual behavior between consenting adults. It took until June 26th of 2015 to make marriage legal throughout the country between any two consenting adults. All of which is good, that's progress. Information and understanding about the wide variety of human sexual identity and behavior is increasing rapidly. And sadly, so is the backlash. As the politics of our nation seem bent on undoing our progress toward affirming the inherent worth and dignity of all people, we are seeing legal battles over trans youth being able to transition, school systems fighting over personal pronouns, and all sorts of discriminatory and negative dress codes, sports codes, and restroom regulations. As wonderful as yesterday's Pride Parade was, the battle is far from over. The safety of LGBTQIA people in many states and many settings is not secure. There is a lot of work to be done. Now, our congregation identifies itself as an open and affirming one. I'm not sure technically exactly when we acquired this status because it predates my tenure here, but it probably was almost from the start of this congregation. However, you need to know that actually our claim to being open and affirming, it's not valid anymore. Yeah, because in 2015, UUA did whatever they needed to do, passed a bunch of resolutions, etc. Our certificate, I guess it's like a certificate of authenticity that we are open and affirming, now needs to be renewed annually. Who knew?
Money maker.
No, it doesn't make any money.
Well, they do.
They don't get anything from us for it.
No?
No, it's not a moneymaker. No, actually, I'm not necessarily pro-institutional whatever for its own sake, but in this instance, I have to tell you that I think their logic is good. They don't want it to be a one and done, we can claim it and don't ever have to act on it or do anything about it kind of thing. If we have to renew annually, then there are 5 points, 5 things that we need to be actively doing on a yearly basis to qualify for that certification. Now, here's the thing that really got me. Out of 800 congregations, Unitarian Universalist congregations across our nation, guess how many are open and affirming?
Oh, wow. Not many.
300 this week.
You're fine. I personally expected to see it be at least the 700s. 500.
Wow.
Not horrible, but it's really not great either. That means there are 300 congregations that haven't bothered, to take this on themselves. Now, of those 500 congregations, only 18 have renewed their certification in the last 7 years.
Oh my gosh.
So there are actually only 18 open and affirming congregations across this nation whose certification is current. Guess what I would like us to do? Seriously.
Yeah.
Here's the thing, people. Number one, it's one of the first things anybody ever says when we are introducing ourselves to a new person. Yes, we are an open and affirming congregation. It used to be on our sign till the sign faded and the rainbow was the victim of sunlight, but whatever. This is who we think we are. Half or more of our congregation self-identify as belonging to the LGBTQIA continuum in some way. This is our people. This is who we are. We have a history of participating in Pride that goes way back, like years and years, very regularly. Last fall, when did we do that gender and sexuality class?
Yeah, last fall.
Last fall, we did a 5 or 6 part series on gender and sexuality and all kinds of issues connected and related to that. And it was pretty well attended, especially for a Saturday morning class, We have interest, we have real people with real life issues. We're committed to this. So I think the smallest thing that we could do would be to re-up our certification. Y'all need to go home and go on UUA.org and search for open and affirming renewal. click your way around the page. I don't remember what you have to touch on to get to the end, but there are 5 points for renewal, and look at what they are. I expect we should be talking about this in next week's town hall meeting, so that your board, when they meet the first Sunday of July, can talk about it further and in more specific detail. And if you think that's a good place for me to stop, guess what? I'm not. Here's the thing. If you sit here and we think together about who we are and what we're committed to, and you think about our recent, let's say even just the last 5 years, search for a meaningful ministry in our larger community outside of our own congregation, why are we not known as the Pride Church? I don't mind being the pastor of the Sex Church. Call it anything you want. But we need to really wrestle with the idea of using our resources to provide services for those in need outside our doors. We want a way to make a community connection. Do you know there is no safe place to do that in Rio Rancho? And the population of Rio Rancho is now north of 90,000 people. I think there's a few LGBTQIA people in there who could use some support. From teenagers through adulthood. We could do stuff for parents who want to know how to talk to their children about this one's transition, this one's identity, what's appropriate at what age, what are really good resources in terms of books and all that kind of stuff. There is a wealth of information out there if there's somebody to put it together and get it where it needs to go. Now, I know we're pretty busy. I don't think this should replace or butt aside anything that we're currently doing. Because if we're going to embrace this as a huge piece of our identity, it needs to be an ongoing kind of thing that isn't always high stress, high gear. You know, something that gets mentioned in some way in every service. Something we focus on as the primary focus of a service a couple of times a year. These are parts of the 5 points. Now, one of the 5 points is making a major contribution to an organization or to your community. Now, they will let you buy your way out of that and make a financial contribution to some other organization that supports Pride activities. However, A, we have no money, so I don't know where we go. But aside from not wanting to buy ourselves off the hook, we could do this. We could be the place that has the drop-in groups for kids, for adults, for parents, for grandparents, for whatever. We have a number of folks with clinical levels of expertise. And I am not suggesting we open a clinic, licensure and insurance and all that kind of stuff is way above and beyond all of this. But to provide a volunteer, lay-led community service to get information where it needs to go, to be a listening ear to somebody who's dying, almost literally, many times, to talk about their sexual issues with someone who will simply accept what they have to say and validate it and let them feel like a real human being again. We could do this. So my question at this point, and I will close with this, is would you stay here? Would you be willing to be part of a church that is going to end up, if we were to do this, we would end up with a reputation in the community for doing sexy stuff? Is that okay? Okay, right now you're all saying yes, okay, which I love, don't get me wrong, but I also know that, you know, peer pressure works in groups, and I don't want us to say yes when really we'd rather not. But seriously, we can do this. It's wide open. Anything we do will be more than what's being done now. There's kind of no way to go wrong, which I personally really love. Seriously, we get to set the bar. I mean, I can see all kinds of things, but I'm going to stop talking now because, although I don't remember, yes, congregational response, and we are going to sing the song today no matter what. So we could take 3 minutes. If y'all have stuff you want to say, thank you. Carol will buzz around with the microphone.
Thank you. 2 points. I think from what you said, that we haven't recertified.
No, we have not.
Okay. And number 2, my second point is that some of our congregations, some of our 800 congregations are very small. And the stuff that comes from the UUA is so big and lengthy and small print, they probably haven't even noticed.
Perhaps. I'm not so generous of spirit right this moment.
I totally agree that there's a lot we can do. And I just wanted to say that most of the high schools and mid-highs have a Gay Straight Alliance.
Yes.
And they're led typically by the school social worker. And some of them are just like looking for a place where they can have a get-together to celebrate graduation, for example. Then they're not allowed to do that on school grounds. And, you know, just having somebody who could host the get-together that they are going to lead themselves would make a big difference. And that, I mean, how simple is that?
1960, I had to swallow my pride and tell the chaplain in the Navy that I wanted to change. But it turned out I got a general discharge instead of bad conduct or undesirable like many of others. So I was able to join the National Guard further along the way and get more benefits.
Yes.
Fran.
Oh, Fran.
And then Arwen, and then we're going to sing.
Just an idea. I'm on a lot of Facebook groups. I'm an advocate for severe chronic pain patients. What if we got a Facebook group?
Yep. What if we did? Lots of stuff. Keep thinking.
A big issue for me is transgender. I identify as queer femme. It's a thing. And the transgender people in my world need people to not tolerate them. I hate the word tolerate. I really do. I don't want anybody to tolerate me. You know? Accept me or don't. You know, so.
Could we just go with affirm, which actually means something positive? You're right, tolerate just means I'll put up with it.
Yeah, affirm me.
But affirm it,
Yeah.
that means it's good.
And I'd love to see us throw a queer prom.
That would be amazing. Okay, I'm getting out of your way. Find number 170 in your hymnal. We are a gentle, angry people. Let's stand as we are able and sing this together.
$170.
170.
We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are a gentle, angry people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We are justice-seeking people, and we are singing, singing for our lives. We
are singing, singing for our lives. We will extinguish our chalice.
The rainbow glow of pride wraps our hearts in warmth and light, even as our chalice is extinguished. May we continually shape our world by the truths it inspires in our living. Slava. May the colors of the rainbow embrace your past, surround your present, and arc into your future. In everything, may you know the blessing of being free to be your true self. Shalom, and blessed be. And now if you'll face each other across the aisle, we'll sing our closing song.
Go now in peace, go now in peace. May the spirit of love surround you everywhere.